Hi there and welcome to the Wellbeing Wiz Omnicast episode number 8. I'm Bevan Thompson and always, as I like to tell you, I'm a life coach who specialises in anxiety and this is the Omnicast. The Omnicast is not a Facebook Live, it's not a YouTube, it's not a podcast, it's not a blog, it's all those things and I try to do all of them at once to make sure that however you want to listen to me, however you want to watch me, however you want to sort of learn about the techniques and topics I talk about, you can pick it up in whatever format you like. Okay, so why do I do this podcast? I tell you guys every week why I do it, why I do this Omnicast. It's because I suffered myself very badly from anxiety. I had some terrible times, maybe around sort of 10 years ago, where the main problems for me were worries. My thoughts used to get very carried away. I had no idea how to manage my anxiety. I had no idea how to manage the symptoms that came with that anxiety, which were, like I say, confused thoughts, rushing thoughts, worrying all the time. This led to a lot of physical symptoms, things like sort of feeling dizzy, feeling sick, almost feeling like I was going to faint all the time, even though I never actually fainted at all. It was more the fear of fainting and the fear of the next thing that was going to happen, the fear of life in general, if you like. I was really scared, actually. And what I try to do as a life coach, I realised that when I solved my own anxiety, when I learned to manage my own anxiety, I actually set up almost like a program for myself. And I thought, you know what? I want to share this with the world. So here I am, life coaching people and trying to help them out of anxiety. So what is today's episode about? Well, it's got a lot to do with that, a lot to do with the worries that I used to face and the worries that a lot of people face when they're anxious. So today we're going to look at sort of what I call anticipation anxiety. It's like the fear of fear itself, the fear of anxiety. It's like I used to sit there and think, oh no, the next panic attack's going to be horrible, and end up worrying about the next one. Do you get me? It's like the fear of the anxiety became actually worse than the anxiety itself. And what this is, again, it all based in thought. And you've got to go back, if you can, if you haven't watched or listened to the previous episodes on thought and how thought breeds emotion. Thoughts create your emotions create your actions create your results. This is the key to it all. So please go back if you haven't watched or listened or read those episodes on thought. A lot of the work we do on these episodes, a lot of the techniques and tricks we talk about, all sort of go back to that thought thing and to get that in your mind and how it works, and then you can sort of follow through with this. Now, so yeah, I'm talking about anticipation anxiety, and I, like I said, used to suffer from that very badly. It was always like, if you think about it, the Final Destination, the movie The Final Destination. I don't know if you guys are aware of that movie, but it was like sort of these kids were on a plane, the plane crashed, but they got off before it crashed. And so death stalks them in this film and finds ingenious ways to kill them off. It's almost like they missed their time. And so my brain used to work like that. It used to work in these sort of 1% chances that this will happen, and then everything will go wrong. And that's how these kids are sort of killed off in this movie. There's all these, like, a guy will go in the shower, he'll slip on the soap and something will fall down. Almost like a sort of Wile E. Coyote sort of plan, everything going horribly wrong for him. And this is what my mind used to work like, the 1% chance that this will occur and then that'll occur and it'll all add up to the worst thing that could possibly happen. And so what my brain was doing was almost creating anxiety from the anxiety I was getting, this anticipation of everything going wrong. So that's what we're going to look at about this week. And the very worst thing that happened to me when I had anxiety, it got too much. I was in a shop in Asda with my family, and my thoughts were running away from me in Asda. I couldn't even concentrate on the shopping I was doing. I was like projecting forward so far that I couldn't take anymore. I ended up leaving my family, running into the sort of toilet roll aisle and building this kind of fort, this safe haven, if you like, this fortress of solitude out of toilet roll. And I was just going to stay there forever. It just got too much. And this anticipation anxiety, the fear of this monster creeping up on me got too much. And I just, I locked myself away. So what I'm going to try and do is stop you getting into that situation by showing you how I managed to get rid of this anticipation anxiety. Okay, so a lot of coaching I've been doing this week has been about this anticipation anxiety. As I say, is looking forward, worrying forward. I like my definitions. I like to go and Google and have a little look. And so I've looked up worry as this week's definition. And it says, feel or cause to feel anxious or troubled about actual or potential problems. So that's worry on Google is feel or cause to feel anxious or troubled about actual or potential problems. You see, the reason I look up definitions, and I say this every week, is because the definition of things have changed to us a little bit. So if we look in the dictionary, it takes us back to the core of what it is. And again, if you look at this, feeling or caused to feel anxious about actual or potential problems. And this is the main issue with anxiety. We're caused to feel anxious about potential problems. Not just the problems we've got. We're looking forward, projecting, we're worrying forward about potential problems, okay? Now, and like I said before, they're the ones that crippled me. These potential problems, these sort of worries that are in my mind that were the 1% chances that were going to destroy my life, that were going to make everything impossible. And actually, it was all just going on in my mind. There wasn't anything externally that was making me think this. It was more internally the thoughts I was creating, yeah? You know I'm like a broken record on this. I go on about it all the time, but thoughts are the key to anxiety. It's what creates the anxiety in the first place. It's what creates the emotion of anxiety are the worrying thoughts you're having, yeah? So like I say, we call this anticipatory anxiety. It's that sort of, like I say, worrying about the anxiety that's going to come. Now, this creates the physical symptoms of anxiety because all you're doing is just creating a thought, oh no, anxiety is going to come, an emotion, anxiety, and it creates an action, which is these symptoms I was on about before. The sweaty palms, the racing thoughts, the racing heart, shallow breathing, feeling sick, feeling sort of dizzy, feeling discombobulated, love that word. And it's these sensations and symptoms that can be caused from something like, you know, an adventure or something as simple as going to Tesco's or Asda, you know, where I ended up in my toilet roll Ford. They tend to occur when we think what might happen, this potential problem, yes? And it's usually a negative outcome, and this is what's creating the anxious reaction. Now, Deepak Chopra, as you remember, says your brain can go two ways. It can be anxious or creative. And what you're doing is with this anticipation anxiety, is almost feeding both of those. You're being creatively anxious. You're taking that path and using your creative power to worry about something that may or may not happen in the future, that's going to be terrible, that's got this kind of almost mind movie that you're creating, this disaster film in your mind. And this is what's creating that anticipatory anxiety, right? Right, so in order to combat this, and what I taught myself and what I now teach my clients in my program, is stop these what if thoughts, right? The biggest thing I say to people is when you start becoming aware of your thoughts, which we've done before with things like thought downloads, worry books, you know, we've talked about those before, is as you see any thought that starts with the phrase what if can usually be thrown out as an unhelpful thought because it's projecting forward. It's already based in worry when it starts with the word what if, yeah? So what I teach people to do is sort of do like a courtroom drama. I used to love things like LA Law when I was younger, and those programs where the lawyers cross-examine the witness and, you know, they tweak out the truth from them. And this is what I do in my mind. This is what I teach my clients to do in their mind, is become like a sort of a judge and jury for your thoughts. You know, look at each one, look at the facts in there and see what's in there and sort of either throw them out of court or see if they've got fact behind them. Now, the main principle of this sort of courtroom drama is, like I say, being aware of your thoughts and your emotions. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, thoughts drive your emotions, emotion drives your actions, actions drive your results, right? So if you become a student of your thoughts, like we've talked about before, with thought downloads and those sorts of things, you start to see the thoughts that are unhelpful, the thoughts that start with the what if, the thoughts that aren't based in fact, right? And if you're in a court, you would say, well, hang on, you know, this thought here, this thought has not got any facts behind it. It's got no evidence to back it up. And that's what I'm doing each time a thought comes into my mind. I'm treating it like a courtroom. I'm going, well, you know, is it factual, or have I just sort of made it up, or am I worrying about something that's not real? And you can only do this if you're aware of your thoughts by doing the thought download and taking time to see what thoughts you're paying attention to. So as I say, be your own judge and jury. Work on creating that sort of third-party space from your thoughts that we've talked about before. Take your thoughts to court. It's a phrase I love. Every thought you have, have a look at it and see if it would stand up in court. Like I was saying before about circumstances being neutral, right? They're the only thing that are facts. So when you're having this thought, think about what the actual facts of the thought are, and whether you're getting carried away, whether you're future projecting, and whether you're sort of adding more of things to the thought than it actually are factual, yeah? For example, here's the best example I always use. You make a phone call to someone, they don't pick up the phone, you suddenly think, oh no, they hate me, right? There's no basis. If you took that thought, oh no, that person hates me because they haven't picked up the phone, to court and actually looked at the facts as if you were like, you know, Rumpole of the Bailey, Victor Cifuentes from LA Law, they're the things I used to love when I was younger. Look at the facts and say, excuse me, you know, this person hates me. Where are the facts? Where's the evidence to back this thought up? They've just not picked up the phone. The circumstance is they've not picked up the phone. They haven't turned around, picked up the phone and said, I hate you, go away. They've just not picked up the phone. They may be busy, they may be on the phone, they may be on the toilet, like we've said before. There's 1,000 reasons why they haven't picked up the phone. But your thought to them not picking up the phone is, oh my God, they hate me. You're already giving yourself anxiety by this sort of the thought that you're creating in your mind that you're not, that starts with, what if they hate me? Yeah? So if you act like this lawyer, this courtroom drama to your own thoughts and take it to court and ask whether it's serious or not and whether there's actual fact behind it, it sort of lessens the thought, stops the emotional anxiety coming, and actually keeps you back in that sensible kind of calm place where your thoughts aren't running away with you. Okay, and the last thing here I'd say about this is, once you've got these thoughts in the courtroom, once you've got these thoughts in your mind in court and you're cross-examining them like these whizzy lawyers on the telly, look at what you're doing to yourself. Look at these potential scenarios you're creating and look at sort of evidence-based affirmation behind them. You know, if you're saying, oh my God, this person hasn't picked up the phone, they must hate me. Look at the evidence behind that. Have they ever said they don't like you? Have they ever hinted they don't like you? Is there evidence to the contrary? You know, have they been out for a drink with you? Have they sent you a birthday card? Did they call you every now and again to see if you're okay? The evidence might suggest they actually like you a lot, and you could look at this evidence and stop the unhelpful thoughts in their tracks. You know, a bit like a courtroom, they all bring in scientific evidence, anecdotal evidence. That's what you need to do with your thoughts. Look at them as if you're in a courtroom, and it really does help. It really does bring out those unhelpful thoughts and filter out the thoughts that aren't going to help you. So, yeah, when you take them to court, ensure you're giving it that third party watcher perspective. If you take your thoughts to court and you're sat in your own brain, you're still adding emotion to them. You need to step away and think practically and think, if my friend said this to me about this subject, if my friend said, oh, I think this person hates me because I didn't pick up the phone, what would you say to them? Or as I always say, talk to yourself as if you're your best friend. You wouldn't turn to your best friend and say, oh yeah, they definitely hate you. You'd say, oh, well, you know, did they not pick up the phone? You'd look at the anecdotal evidence on behalf of them. So be compassionate, be kind to yourself and do that. Okay, now, this is obviously a really slimmed down version of what I teach people, and I'm trying to give you sort of a bullet point sort of way of doing it. There's a lot more to it, but the essence of taking your thoughts to court and the essence of taking that third party watcher perspective will reduce the amount of worry that you have in a day, in a week, in a month. Because what you're doing is practically looking at your thoughts and throwing out the ones that start with what if, throwing out the ones that aren't based in fact, and you're starting to notice and also telling your subconscious mind that these are the kind of thoughts that you don't want to be having. These are the kind of thoughts that are unhelpful, and these are the kind of thoughts that are making your brain run away and make you anxious. And what you're doing is creating a habit. By doing it deliberately, you're teaching your subconscious brain to do it subconsciously in the future. Does that make sense? Because like we've said before, a lot of this sort of thinking goes on the frontal cortex. What we're trying to do is trying to push this back to the subconscious routine and let your brain take care of not worrying about thoughts for you automatically. So it doesn't become a sort of an aware concept. It doesn't become, over time, it gets into a habit and it gets into your subconscious and it happens without you thinking. I do it without thinking now. My unhelpful thoughts are filtered out by this system without me even thinking. It's like learning to walk. Like, it's hard when you start. When you start learning to walk, you're little, you struggle and it's hard work because you have to concentrate on balance and all that sort of thing. Over time, suddenly you walk without even knowing. I walk to the kitchen and back. I don't even know I'm doing it. And I don't even know I'm doing what I'm doing now by filtering out unhelpful thoughts because I've practiced and practiced and practiced. But at the start, it's hard work. So, I like to give you a little bit of homework every week. This week, do a thought download like I've done before, like I've told you about before. Take 10 minutes, write down all your thoughts. Walk away, come back. Now, if you see some worries on there, if you see some thoughts that start with what if, let's take them to court. Sit with that thought as if you're, a lawyer in court and say, okay, where is the evidence for this thought to be true? Where is the factual evidence of this thought that's going to make it true? And if there's none there, you realize you can throw that out. And that's a great process for your brain as well, for have it on paper, to look at it, look at the pros and cons of it, look at the facts and the things you've embellished and the things that have made it untrue, and you can cross it out when you know it's untrue. And all of a sudden, your brain starts to get with this, and that's what's going to force it into your subconscious. So give that a go. Write down your thoughts. If there's some in there that are what ifs, some in there that are sort of, not based in fact, based in the future, that are worries, that are anticipatory anxiety, then take them to court, pretend you're a lawyer, cross-examine yourself, look for the facts, look for the scientific evidence, and if it's not there, throw it out of court. Get rid of it. So I hope you've enjoyed the Omnicast this week. As I say every week, pop over to my website, Wellbeingwiz, thewellbeingwiz.com/calm mind. That's thewellbeingwiz.com/calm mind. Download my free ebook there. It's Calm Mind, how to stop worrying in 7 days. This kind of thing is in there, how to take your thoughts to court, how to reframe thoughts. It's such good stuff, so helpful. And I'll see you next week. But thanks for tuning in. Cheers.